Hello, my Forge faithful. Anthony Urciuoli with you, your digital host. However, wherever you may be listening and or watching, this is the Forge Audio Network, and this is Focus on Forge. If you are watching, the new set it's under construction. We'll put it that way. But we're going to work with what we have right now. And what do we have right now? It's Focus on Forge. You're going to hear from head coach and technical director Bobby Smyrniotis. You're going to hear from Chris Nanco, Noah Jensen, Kwasi Poku. We have so much to go over as Forge FC head to Edmonton this weekend. It'll be the final road match for Forge FC of the regular season. So they'll play Edmonton, then they'll have 3 consecutive home matches, and then it will be playoff time. First things first, though, Edmonton. And first things first, big announcement. Forge FC hosting the first in what will be an annual Spark Summit at Tim Hortons Field. Here's what that means. October 5th, it's before and actually part of the Forge FC Pacific FC match at Tim Hortons Field on it's a Wednesday night in the City Lounge. The Spark Summit aims to connect professional women in sports business and inspire conversations around fostering gender, equity in sports, and also shining a light on those who are leading the way across all sectors of the sports business. It'll be hosted by Jacqueline Dory, host and producer at CBC Sports, Deirdre Dion, Olympic medalist and sports media executive, Andy Petrello, who soccer fans will recognize, broadcaster with One Soccer. She's been with CBC, Leafs TV, Raptors TV. Andy's done it all. And Taylor McIntyre, who is a football coach at McMaster University. There'll be a panel, Q&A, and also proceeds from the ticket sales will be donated to the Boys and Girls Club of Hamilton and Halton. So you can purchase tickets to this event. It's also a networking event, which is really cool. So you get to be amongst other professionals in the business, chat, network, and there will also be a networking event during the match when Forge FC and Pacific FC play that night at Tim Hortons Field. Really exciting event. Really hoping that you'll be part of it. Just head on over to forgefc.ca for more information or to purchase your tickets. All right, that should be fun. Now, speaking of fun, coming off a win and a draw is fun if you're Forge FC, especially after a bit of a slide. Quick look at the standings, because that's what we're focused on right now. We know the club likes to focus on one match at a time, but we're fans. We don't have to worry about that. We can look as far ahead as we need to, and we're going to do that. Atletico Ottawa still at the top of the CPL table. They played 25 matches out of 28. They have 42 points. Cavalry also at 25 matches. They are 1 point behind Atletico. And Forge FC has 40 points. So they're 2 points out of the top spot with a match in hand, which means, we've been saying it for a couple of weeks now, Forge back in that position that they love, where they now get to control their own fate. Because a win with that match in hand puts them right into top spot all alone. So they are firmly in control right now, should they take that advantage. Valor hanging on in 4th place with 37 points. They're 3 back of Forge. And Pacific and Valor are actually level. Valor's in 4th, Pacific's in 5th. Top 4 make the playoffs. Pacific, though, has played 1 less match than Valor. Forge's opponent, though, this weekend, dead last in the CPL, just 16 points in 25 matches, just 3 wins on the season. But there are 7 draws in there, and anyone that's followed this league close enough, Edmonton gives clubs all kinds of trouble. I know what we're looking at in the standings, but forget that for a second, because it's a young club with not a whole lot to lose at this point in the season, and they play that low block to perfection. They defend as well as anybody. So it's going to be a tough sled for Forge, and able to find offense unless they show up and play the way they did against Pacific and against Cavalry, the match before that. I caught up with Forge FC head coach and technical director Bobby Smyrniotis this week, And we talked about the final stretch here. I mean, it's kind of exciting. There's just one more away match before the end of the regular season.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of that stretch on these road games. One more in Edmonton, and it's going to be a tough one, and it's a very important one for us at this point of the season. We've got 4 games left. Everything is in our hands, and this is going to be the next most important game, as we call them.
Now, in that win against Pacific last match, we got to look at Chris Nanco. If you've been following this team from the start, Chris Nanco has been a huge cog in that machine that won back-to-back championships and then made another final appearance the following season. So Chris Nanco, an integral part of this club, has had some injury woes this season. Some things were kind of nagging, and he's missed quite a bit of time as the winger. And Chris Nanco adds a different dimension to that Forge attack, which is already so deep. Nanco brings something a little different than the rest of the players, making him very valuable down the stretch here and in the postseason. So finally, now that he's healthy, I was able to catch up with Chris Nanco, and we talked about a lot. Have a listen. You're an upbeat, positive guy, a lot of energy, but has it been a frustrating season for you?
It was. It started off as an injury that wasn't going to take that long, maybe like a month or so, but then it started to kind of reoccur and things started to happen, and it was longer than expected. It gets a little bit frustrating, when you see, the guys out there training every day, playing games and stuff like that, and you want to be a part of it. You want to help your team win and stuff. So it gets a little frustrating when you see those games tick down and stuff. I think it was a difficult time, but now I'm back, I'm healthy, I'm trying to stay healthy and finish off the season strong.
How important is it to find those kind of mental supports when you're going through something like that? And you're such a big part of those 2 championship teams, and to not be out there with your team, is there, do you need that support system? Do you go to teammates? Do you go to family, friends?
Yeah, I mean, I have family and friends, and obviously my teammates are pushing me to get back onto the field and stuff. The coaching staff and whatnot. So, obviously I have those things in my life, and I'm lucky to have those things in my life. It's greatly appreciated from the people that surround me. You definitely need those things, and just try to remember to take it one day at a time, and eventually you're gonna make it to where you want to be.
When you're watching, do you get a unique perspective at times of the club? What's been your assessment of the team and the season to this point?
Yeah, I mean, I think the season it's been a good season. I think we had a slow start. We usually have a slow start. It's just the Forge way, but we start to pick things up. I think a lot of teams are really trying to focus on the way Forge plays and what they can do to stop us. And when they play each other and stuff like that, it's not as much tactically. They're not as much tactically sound and stuff like that. So I think a lot of teams come here to play us like it's like a championship game. I think we've gotten the best out of the opponents when they come here to play. And but I think we've done well. You see like our record and stuff. You see where we are. We have the opportunity to jump into first place. And then you see the amount of goals we're scoring this year, and that's a big thing. Our goals for compared to our goals against, so you see we're doing really good. It's just a matter of taking it up one more notch and jumping to first place and making the playoffs and solidifying our spot.
A lot of depth on this club, and you mentioned the attack. A lot of quality attackers on this club. What do you? I mean, we've watched you, but just in your assessment, what do you bring that maybe? Not different, but what do you add to the lineup? Is it the paciness? What kind of skill set?
Yeah, I think what I bring to the lineup is a lot of energy, whether it's being a starter or being subbed on. I think I make a lot of runs in behind. I take on defenders 1v1. I think I would say like a problem for defenders, especially throughout the game when defenders start to get tired and stuff like that. So I think, me running in behind stretches the lines and can provide space for other teammates on the field and break down defensive lines. So I think that's what I'm going to be focused on when I'm getting more minutes and try to help the team out as best as I can.
Final road game. It's against a club that's difficult to get points against. When you look at the rest of the season now, it's one more road match and then 3 straight at home and then the playoffs. You have to like the position that the club is in right now.
Yeah, it's definitely a good position that we're in. It's just a matter of winning the games, and because if we don't win the games, we can easily end up in a bad position, right? So the league is the stats are very close within the table. So yeah, we have to take advantage of our chances, and it starts with the next game.
Okay, and lastly, just your assessment on the young guys this season. You saw Noah step in last game. Quasi's gotten some minutes. Your assessment of the youth that's been injected into this club this season.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby and the coaching staff, they've always been big on the youth development. I'm a product of it as well. I think that the young guys that we've had this year have played big roles for us. You see guys like you mentioned, Noah and Quasi, they've gotten a lot of minutes and they've done well with those minutes. I think at times when Noah comes on off the bench or gets the starts, I think some of the games he's played, he's been the best player on the team. Quasi's a lot of energy, the long strides, gets down the line. He's very pacey. It's hard for defenders to keep up with him. And I think he shows great spurts of quality. And I think it's just a matter of him keeping his confidence up and showing what he can do, because he does it day in and day out in practice, and he just needs to keep doing it as well in the games.
Nanco and I touched on, I asked the question. Nanco, with his brilliant answers, touched on Kwasi Poku and also Noah Jensen, who 2 young players. Those aren't the only young players that have stepped up this season. I mean, Pacius is an obvious one. Malik has been a huge part of this club on the back line, especially when they were battling through some injuries. So, listen, for Forge, the youth movement for a veteran club that has championship aspirations every single year, to be able to also develop players, I mean, that's a luxury, because a lot of times you don't get that benefit. If you're a veteran club and you're a championship level club, you don't always have the room for young players to step in, but the young players have such quality that they can be trusted. You heard the trust that Nanco has in him as a veteran. We've heard other veterans on this club talk about how much faith they have in the group, the young players. Of course, the coaching staff, Bobby Smyrniotis, plenty of confidence in the young players. And I mean, that's evident. He proves it every week when he gives them the minutes that they get. So I talked to Noah Jensen and Kwasi Poku this week. And I talked to both about their development. First, though, Noah Jensen, who filled in for the suspended captain, Kyle Becker, and he did not look out of place at all. As you heard Nanco say, oftentimes he looks like the best player on the field. Here's Noah Jensen talking about his development this season, his first as a pro.
Yeah, undoubtedly, I've learned a lot, and there's a lot of guys in this locker room that I can learn from. And looking back at the beginning of the season, it feels like forever ago that we were at Pacific playing the first game, and kind of from that point up until this past weekend, I mean, there's been a lot of growth, not from me but our whole team, and I think that right now we can only continue growing and be at our best going into the playoffs.
Are there certain areas of your game that you think you need to focus on, or is it more of just a holistic, all-around type approach?
Yeah, I think every day I can continue to get better. Whether one day I'm working on my passing, my shooting, whatever, I can get 1% better at everything each day, and I think that's just kind of the attitude I need to keep going forward.
All right, Noah helping shore up the midfield for Forge FC. Kwasi Poku shoring up the flanks as a fullback it's almost, when you're a fullback on Forge FC, it's more of a wingback type role because of how involved you're expected to get in the attack. Now here's Kwasi Poku. It's been a learning curve. Young guy, big year for him. He's played for Canada this year. He's played some meaningful minutes for Forge and will continue to get those meaningful minutes. Here's Kwasi.
I'd say it's definitely been good. It's been a learning experiences, high points, low points, but I feel like as a whole I've developed a lot. I feel like I've gotten 1% better every day, and that's the attitude I've had every time I've came into training. I've put in the effort, and I feel like the results are starting to show on the field. My game's maturing, and yeah, that's my summary.
Yeah, the position as a whole, playing fullback, it can be unique on this club. There's a lot of interaction with the wingers and a lot of front foot type play. Do you feel like the style that this club plays suits your skill set as a fullback?
Yeah, I feel like the fullbacks have a very attacking role. I feel like they're not true fullbacks. They have a very attacking role, midfield role, and defensive. So they're really all over the place. So I really feel like I get to display my talents everywhere on the pitch, which is good for me.
All right, Forge fans, so much content for you that's already dropped and that's coming up. Behind the Beard made its return this week with head coach and technical director Bobby Smyrniotis. All the interviews you've heard, you can listen to them in their entirety at forgefc.ca. You can also get them by following Forge FC on social media. And don't forget, subscribe either via podcast or on YouTube, because we have a match day preview coming up with Forge taking on Edmonton this weekend. Also 3 keys to the match. And following that match against Edmonton, you'll have your match in review. Plenty of Forge content, plenty of ways to listen and or watch. We'll talk to you soon.
Anthony Urciuoli and Focus on Forge. Subscribe on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts to the Forge Audio Network.